In this age of technological revolution, we can hit a button on our phones and in a matter of minutes have groceries at our door, a ride in the driveway, or a place to stay. If you haven't used Airbnb, you probably have heard about it. A host looking to make a few bucks posts a listing for a room or an entire home up on the Airbnb site. A traveler looking for a good deal shops the site and chooses a rental. Renter and host are matched, and Airbnb takes 3% of the price. It's a formula that has made Airbnb one of the most successful and most disruptive companies in the world, with hotels and cities now scrambling to keep up. I stopped by to visit co-founder Brian Chesky, who also is the company's CEO and head of community. Where else but in his Airbnb here in New York?
This is literally just the beginning.
How does a 35-year-old CEO with an estimated personal net worth approaching $4 billion travel the world? By crashing at other people's homes.
Hello, how you doing?
So you're actually staying in this Airbnb rental?
Yeah, I'm here. This is a house in Harlem. My girlfriend and my mom were here last night, and we had food here together, so it's pretty cool. I've literally stayed in hundreds of them. I mean, at one point, I even lived on the website. I gave up my home, and we would go home to home so it's been a pretty amazing experience.
Airbnb began nearly a decade ago with 3 inflatable air mattresses on the floor of Brian Chesky's living room. Today, the company has 3 million listings in 65,000 cities and 191 countries around the world. It's valued at $30 billion, nearly twice the value of Hilton worldwide.
You mentioned you were perhaps an unlikely business mogul growing up.
Right.
Your high school yearbook quote was a Jerry Seinfeld quote?
Yes. My high school yearbook quote was, "I'm sure I'll amount to nothing." And I remember I put it in. I came home one day. My dad had a copy of the yearbook, and I remember he just shouted, "Nothing!" And I was like, yeah, whatever.
I hope you framed that. There's some irony to that.
Maybe now there is.
Chesky grew up near Albany, New York, the son of 2 social workers. From a young age, he was fascinated by improving things that just didn't seem right to him.
When you were a kid, you would ask for Christmas presents because you didn't like their design.
I was obsessed with things like Game Gear and Game Boys and these different devices, and I wanted to redesign them. When I was a really little kid, asked for my dad to buy Disney stock so we could get the Disney annual reports, because in the Disney annual reports they had renderings of the new rides and the theme parks, and I could use those renderings and redesign the theme parks. In hindsight, these were slightly peculiar interests.
You think?
Yes, exactly. I guess I've always been obsessed with a better way to design something, and probably first and foremost, a better way to design communities.
So instead of asking to go to Disney World, you were asking for the annual report as a child.
Exactly.
Long before he became one of the leaders of the new economy, Chesky was an artist, a hockey player, even a competitive bodybuilder.
You still jacking some steel? Can you still get it up?
A little bit. When you travel here, man, it is tough to do when you're a CEO.
If the modern playbook for a startup icon includes dropping out of an Ivy League school, Chesky took a different route. He spent his college years at the Rhode Island School of Design. There, he met Joe Gebbia, who later became one of 3 co-founders of Airbnb.
We always thought, design isn't how something looks. Design's how something works. And we had this really simple idea. What if you could go somewhere and feel like you live there?
That simple idea was born of necessity. Chesky had quit his design job and joined Gebbia in San Francisco. Between the 2 of them, they couldn't pay their first month's rent.
It turns out that weekend, there was this international design conference. All the hotels were sold out. And we had this idea, let's just create a bed and breakfast for the design conference. We pulled the airbeds out of the closet, we inflated them, and we called it the Air Bed and Breakfast.
A light bulb went off, but early skeptics of their idea didn't believe people would invite strangers into their homes. In 2008, without big investors, Chesky and Gebbia began covering their costs by selling breakfast cereal.
And so Joe and I and Nate were totally broke. And one night, we're in a late night in the kitchen, we're like, we're Air Bed and Breakfast. Air beds aren't selling very well. Maybe we'll go into breakfast cereal. And then we ended up selling Barack Obama themed cereal. We called it Obama O's, the breakfast of change. We also did John McCain themed cereal, Captain McCain's. And that was actually how we funded the company. In fact, today we say we're like serial entrepreneurs with a twist.
Hi, I'm Brian Chesky. I'm a co-founder at Airbnb.com.
Their scrappiness caught the attention of one of the company's first investors, right around the time the economy was crashing.
We haven't made any money. And Paul Graham said that it's like an investment nuclear winter, and I'm looking for people that won't die. He said, in fact, you guys are like cockroaches. You just won't die. That's when it started taking off. And the idea literally spread city by city, block by block. It grew as a network.
With Airbnb's rapid expansion from 120,000 listings in 2011 to 3 million today, regulators in many cities are struggling to handle the boom in short-term rentals.
We're sitting in a beautiful home
Yep.
in New York City, which is one of many cities that's passed laws or regulations to try to restrict Airbnb's ability to operate here. What is your answer to critics who say it's bad for affordable housing?
The story of most people in our community is people that are average income who depend on the money to get by. And the average person is renting the home they live in.
Airbnb recently launched a new division called Experiences. Travelers can book a stay that comes with a local experience, like surfing with Adventure Man in LA, finding Zen in San Francisco, or learning from a samurai artist in Tokyo.
I think one of the things you and others have found is that especially younger customers are seeking these experiences.
Yes.
They don't want to accumulate things as much as life experiences. How did you tap into that?
I think there was this shift that happened where when I was a kid, the American dream was to have like a nice house and 2 cars. I think the rise of social media changed it, because suddenly people started valuing experiences more.
A new experience launching this month in New York, a partnership with an urban farm called Harlem Grown. Rent a room and spend a day helping out.
Have you seen in your research, Brian, that customers want more of this kind of experience?
They don't want to just see the Eiffel Tower, or like they don't want to see the Statue of Liberty. They want to meet people like Tony. And then you leave, and the memories you have are of people.
What do the next 10 years look like for Airbnb?
And I think where this is going is it's not going to be just a place to stay. We are going to design the end-to-end trip for you. Travel is never really about where you go. It's about who you can become and the memories you can make. And I really want us to be in the business of creating these magical experiences, not just a place to stay.
Brian's advice for you budding entrepreneurs, he says it's better to have 100 people who love your company than 1 million people who kind of like you. Don't worry about being huge, he says. Worry about doing something that makes a huge difference to a small number of people. Brian also told me the name Airbnb could take on a whole new meaning in the future. To hear his fascinating thoughts on fixing commercial air travel, check out our web extras at today.com/Sunday. And our thanks again to the great people at Harlem Grown. Come see him here in New York.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.